Howdy, howdy, let's get rowdy, it's Marky and Drowsy, and welcome back to another episode of r/relationship advice. I do hope you enjoyed today's bloody good episode, and with that said, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn to the barbie. Let's just get right into today's stories. Let's go. Posted by user Revolutionary Noise 3, titled, I think my sister and my husband may be too close for comfort. 8 months ago, my sister moved back into town. A small backstory, she's not lived here in 10 years, as she originally left for college and never came back. We grew apart, we talked maybe once a year, and I haven't seen her physically in 4 years. I've been with my husband for 8 years and married 3. She has met him twice in the entire duration of my relationship with him. He's a quiet and serious man who only opens up in front of me and a few of his select friends. She was struggling to get a job here, so I thought that I'd be a good person and ask my husband if he could maybe help her find a job at his company since they work in the same type of field. Fast forward to current times, they actually work in the same department now. He's been acting more closed off towards me lately, but he claims everything is fine when I asked him what is wrong. We had our traditional family Christmas meal yesterday, and at first he tried to get out of it. This is not something that he's ever tried to do, and I was very confused by this. After some convincing, he finally agreed to come along. My sister pulled him aside a few times, and they were in a very deep conversation, as if the rest of us didn't exist. When I approached them every time, they both would jump a little, and when I'd ask what they were talking about, they would say, a work project that's near deadline. I was feeling a little off about their behavior, but the one thing that got me the most was at one point he got up to go get himself another drink. She was sitting in a chair that was next to the kitchen door, so he had to pass her to go to the kitchen. When he was near her, she put her hand up and reached towards him, and he caressed her palm and lightly grabbed her fingers as he walked past her. She looked up at him with a big smile, he looked down at her and nodded his head. As soon as he was out of sight, she turned her head towards me and smirked at me. I later asked him what that was about, and he said, it's just a high five. I said that it didn't look like a high five, and he said that's all it was. I've never had any reason to suspect him of cheating, but this has got me feeling on edge. I've been battling with myself to investigate further. Another thing is that he doesn't focus that strongly when he and I talk. It's always just short answers and lighthearted. They were having some intense conversations where he was hanging on her every word and giving her in-depth responses. In the comments, Redhead9390 says, it seems like either they're beginning to cross into an emotional/physical affair, or they already have crossed that line. I know people don't agree with going through partners' phones, but I would. Something is clearly going on. OP says, I've been contemplating going through his phone, and it's something I've never even thought of doing before. If you can get in there without him knowing, then I would do it. Take screenshots if you find anything, and play along so he doesn't delete anything. OP says, if only he didn't keep it nearly glued to himself. He never leaves his phone unattended. Well, that's a sign as well. I never let my phone out of my sight. It's probably not the healthiest, but I'm not having an affair. As soon as he was out of sight, she turned her head towards me and smirked at me. Your sister just claimed your husband as her own in that moment, OP, and she made sure that you know it. I'm sorry, OP, but you deserve better. I hope the house is yours so you can at least throw her out. It is wild to me that sisters could do this. Sometimes you get a bad friend, but I could not envision hitting on my sister's partner or her doing this to me. We both owe each other our lives. The idea of trying to take a romantic partner is absurd to me. The fact he's acting more closed off towards you means that something is going on. He's starting to resent you, which is typically the first sign of an affair happening or in the process. He's pulling away from you. He's 1000% developed feelings for your sister. How could he not? They spend so much time together at work in close proximity. I'm so sorry this is happening to you. Jealous sisters and the desperate type steal boyfriends. OP says, she is a very jealous person. She has to always be number one and the best at everything. That last comment by OP tells me everything that I need to know. This is a game for the sister. She is stealing the man off of you. She gave you that smirk and confirmed it at the party, OP. If they were trying to hide it, that wouldn't happen. Why he is so brazen about it and so obviously ignoring you is only anyone's guess, but it to me sounds like they're ready to break off with you and start their own life together. I would laugh so hard if that did happen and then she ghosted him after she won and destroyed your life. It's a terrible thing that would happen, but it would be funny seeing karma in action. Maybe not so much karma for her, because at that point it also seems as though she's ready to be out of your life as well. And now, on to the updates. I apologize for not updating sooner. I've been busy getting things sorted out. After my first post on a Tuesday, I'd asked my husband if he'd go on a little weekend getaway with me. We went up to a cabin in the mountains. Neither of us had cell phone service. I planned for that, as I wanted to make sure that I had his full attention. The first night went fantastic, and I almost forgot everything about my concerns with my sister. When we woke up the next morning, we cooked breakfast together, but he was rather quiet. I asked if he'd go on a little walk with me, which he agreed to. When we reached the lake, there were some large rocks that you could sit on. We both sat on the same rock, and we sat there in silence for what felt like forever. I finally got the courage to bring up the concerns I had with my sister and him, and his face went white. He admitted to falling in love with my sister. He said that it all started because of how much they have in common. They spend more time together at work than he does with me at home. He said he feels like he can talk to her about anything, and it never gets tiring. He said he's never felt more alive than he does when he's with her, and they started having a physical affair in October. The emotional affair began in June, after working with her for a couple of months since the end of April. He apologized for hurting me and deceiving and betraying me. I asked him what he wanted to do about it, and he said that as much as he knows that it will hurt me to say, he no longer is in love with me. The most painful thing I've ever heard in my life is when he said that the way that he feels for her made him realize that he's never once felt that way for me, even at the time when he loved me the most. He said it's not comparable by any measure, and he doesn't feel right staying married to me. We are splitting in agreement that the marriage is over, but yes, I am heartbroken. They have both applied to transfer jobs to a different city with the same company, and he offered to let me keep the house. I told him that I didn't want the house because it reminds me of him and us. We have split the finances, and he is giving me more money than he is taking. We are getting ready to list it for sale, and I've been packing and doing odds and ends like painting. He said I could keep the full amount of the house sale. New carpet and flooring comes tomorrow, and the movers come this afternoon. I found a small house for myself to start fresh, but I know that it'll take some time for me not to be so heartbroken. My sister, on the other hand, is not handling it as kindly as he is, and she is gloating. She even accidentally sent me a photo of both of them where you can tell she is in heaven because she won him away from me. She changed her profile picture to a picture of her taking a selfie of herself, smiling very smug, as he is kissing her forehead. I unfollowed her on TikTok because now she's posting videos and photos of them together. Some of them are from months ago, and it kicked me in the heart. I asked him if he could please ask her to stop, and he said he'd talk to her about it, but nothing has changed. I have removed myself from social media for now, except from Reddit. My mother is favoring my sister's side, saying that she's not posting those things to hurt me, and that my sister deserves to be happy. My mum said that it's my fault for looking, and I need to stop being so petty. My father is taking the white flag, and said he'd like to stay out of it. He said it's not right what my sister did, but she's still his daughter. He said he won't accept their relationship, and he is here for me whatever I need, but he won't be in the middle of this. I respect his decision on that, and I'm sure it's not an easy place to be in. Thank you all for the kind words, and all of the advice that was given. I probably didn't add everything, but my brain is kind of foggy at the moment. Edit. For those thinking that this is unrealistic because it was magically resolved in 18 days, it is far from resolved. They are moving to a different office because he said he feels guilty and doesn't want to be near me. They have not transferred yet because they can't for a while due to a lack of openings. I worded it wrong, which is my fault. I wanted to update as much as possible to try and put closure to this for those asking for an update. Also, I am no contact with all of them except my soon-to-be ex at the moment, and will be for a long time, if not forever. I will be no contact with him after the divorce. In the comments, Practical Reindeer says, and they'll all wonder why they never see OP again. I can't wait for an update when it's known that either sister or soon-to-be ex-husband has cheated again. I wish OP peace. It will happen too, because the sister's gloating makes me think that she faked who she is as a person to get the husband away from OP as some prize. That will wear off, and she'll be left with some guy that she doesn't really like, and will be off banging the next big prize. I hope so. He deserves to feel every bit as miserable as OP does. I hope the sister plays him for long enough that he is fully invested, 100%, and then she does the same thing to him that he did to OP. The sister is the type to never really be happy regardless of who or what she has. That sort of behavior is done out of spite and self-loathing. But the husband is hopeful. I hope he is effing crushed. My heart breaks for her. Finding out about an affair is bad enough. He didn't need to kick her while she's down. The parents and sister are trash and should be taken out. I will never understand how a sister can do that to a sister also. That's like double whammy betrayal. A spouse and sibling. One of the few people in life that are supposed to have your back. It's just horrid. The sister is openly rubbing it in her face too. That's just evil to me. I'm sure family events will be lovely as well. I have a feeling the family will tell her to get over it, and she'll either be forced to watch them together or cut out her family. Here's to hoping their relationship is as wonderful as they are, because they deserve it. Lol. They'll have great family events. OP won't be invited or won't be attending. The rest are gonna have a great time together because they all completely lack morals. And when they both start cheating on each other, the parents will be so shocked. I just feel so terribly bad for OP in this instance, but I think at the same time, like, what can you realistically do? I don't really know what the solution for OP is, besides exactly what they've done here. This is a terribly awful fate that I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy, and yet it happens, and it happens a lot by the sounds of it. All I hope that comes of this is that she does cheat on the ex-husband, and he does get the karma that is coming to him. Otherwise, again, life just sucks, and I hope that OP can move on and heal from all of this, and enjoy life, no contact with her family, because I don't see how you could ever join their life again, knowing that they all supported this. Our next post is by user Emergency Swim, titled, I told my sister to go ahead and off herself, and I don't regret it. I'm 24, and my sister Christy is 25. I hated her for a time, but now I just don't care. We were raised in the same house by the same parents, but treated completely differently. Christy went to private school, was chauffeured around by our stay-at-home mother, and was given a hefty allowance. I went to public school, rode the public bus, and walked everywhere, and never had an allowance. No extended family would say anything beyond claiming my parents and sister loved me, that I have to understand that it wasn't their place, and that maybe things would be better if I tried harder. I hated them just as much as I hated my parents. Christy mocked me relentlessly growing up. She was the pretty one and the smart one. If I got upset by her mocking, I was told I'm being sensitive and that it was sibling love. If I said hurtful things right back, I was grounded because I took it too far. I wasn't allowed to outshine her, I wasn't allowed to have friends. My clothing was policed by her, and the few nice clothing that aunts and uncles would get me would be replaced with frumpy and unattractive clothing. It would end up in her wardrobe. My parents would back up Christy, saying I couldn't pull it off, and that it looks inappropriate when I wore it. The rest of the family, the people who gave me the clothes included, would compliment how good she looked and pretty much just validate Christy. I know for a fact that I am and have always been attractive. Even in those ugly outfits, I managed to get asked out on multiple dates and got a boyfriend in sophomore year. Said boyfriend knocked up Christy our senior year after cheating on me with her since I got my early admission letter and was neglecting him and the family. She told me the day before my graduation, claiming that he was going to marry her and that they were in love and that it grew from me abandoning them both, blah blah blah. Our mother was there, and because I didn't really react, she thought that I was being a good sister and said she was so proud of me. I didn't cry about it. I just packed up my car when everyone was asleep, skipped my graduation and the supposed party that was planned, and I left. My only stop was the police station where I gave them my info, told them that if I'm reported missing that I'm not, and bluntly said that I'm running from an abusive family and was going away to college, and never coming back. I got rid of my phone and everything. I went to school, got a good internship turned job, bought the condo that I was renting, and had my dream wedding. Christy got in contact with me via Facebook. Her DMs, 2 days worth because I don't really use my Facebook, consisted of her saying that I abandoned her when she needed me most, that she practically was a single mom, her husband, my ex, hates her, and got with a woman that looks like me. Our parents blame her for me leaving and won't help her, and the entire family treats her kid like crap for being the product of an affair. She didn't get into any of the colleges that she applied to, couldn't go to college as a full-time mother. She switched between blaming me for her misfortune and throwing a pity party. While reading, I didn't feel much of anything, reading how awful her life turned out, and I think I truly just stopped caring. And so even karma beating her down didn't give me any joy. Then she both DM'd and tagged me in a post that read, "I feel like I'm drowning and I just need my sister. Why won't you respond? Why did you leave me when I needed you the most? Please, I'm in such a bad place. If you don't help, I'll just end it all." I replied via comment and DM, "Go ahead and off yourself. I'm not helping you and frankly don't care. You stopped being my sister the day that you gave me bleach as a gift," and blocked her shortly after. The logical part of me is telling me that that was wrong, but I just can't bring myself to care enough to feel guilty. If something happens to her, I still don't think that I'll care. This is contrary to what her family and friends think, all people I've blocked without bothering to read their messages. In the comments, Cassowary32 says, "Given how close you were in age, is it possible that one of you is adopted or the product of an affair? I don't understand how your parents could be so openly cruel and no one stood up for you. You didn't deserve any of that, and I'm glad you were able to thrive without them. I hope you live a good life far, far away from all those people. You don't owe your sister anything." OP says, "No adoptions, no affairs. Just colorism and me being unplanned, so essentially unwanted. Your childhood was next level abuse. I think there is a lot of rage and grief and pain that you've buried and aren't letting yourself feel where the family is concerned. I'm so happy for you that in spite of everything, you pressed on and overcame. You seem to be the scapegoat of narcissistic parents and your sister their narcissistic golden child. Her calculating, manipulative toxicity wants to rear its head in your life. I know this sort of sibling. They try to undermine you at every turn and want to take everything that belongs to you just to cause you pain. Your pretty clothes weren't given to her on the spur of the moment, they were given to her because she demanded them. These sorts are absolutely horrific human beings. Cutting them all out of your life was such a brave thing to do. It was necessary, but it takes so much courage to actually act. I know how you feel. When she got in touch now, you didn't owe her any sort of response at all. I think you should simply have blocked her without responding, whatever she says. Any way she contacts you, block. If she uses third parties, block them. And yes, please delete the message that you did send. Keep being happy, keep being you. The nightmare is long over. Your sister doesn't get to say that it's not. And if you can, please maintain strict no contact for good." OP replies, "She deleted the post that she made, and I did delete the message that I sent this morning. Thank you for your kind words." This sounds like one or both parents are narcissists, and I don't use the word narcissist lightly. A narcissistic parent will choose one sibling to be the golden child and will give them everything and raise them to think they can never do any wrong. They will choose another sibling to be the bad child and will abuse or neglect them. Narcissistic parents use their children to play out their own childhood wounds. They see their children as merely an extension of themselves. One will be treated the way that they wish they had been treated when they were growing up, and the other child will be treated as their outlet for anger and resentment. Oftentimes with parents like that, their family probably has similar disorders, and they will support the abuse. I am so sorry you had that childhood. I personally would not make any attempts to reconcile with them. The reason is only because they, not you, but they, will not reconcile with you. They will just draw you back into their cycle of abuse, they will not admit any wrongdoing, and you will again be the target for their blaming, resentment, and abuse. You made a better life for yourself away from them. And now, onto the update, titled, Mother-in-law got arrested. Not a good thing, but I'm happy regardless. This happened 2 days ago. She said worth it once my husband Derek and I bailed her out. No charges are being pressed against her, something I'm extremely happy about. This is somewhat of an update to my previous post about my sister Christy and my response to her unaliving threats. It wasn't nice, and I still don't feel guilty. My mother, who we'll call Emma, was able to get in contact with my brother Cam not long after Christy's post was deleted. He didn't tell me at the time, but he thought that it was our maternal grandparents calling. It wasn't. He did talk to her and shared that I was married, had a good job, and so on. He essentially was rubbing in her face that I was living an amazing life and that I didn't need them. He admits that he saw red when she didn't believe this because I never posted about any of that stuff on Facebook. Again, I don't really use it. If I want you to know something, I'll call or text. He sent her pictures of my wedding, specifically pictures that showed how extravagant and intimate it had been. We only had 32 guests, and because of mother-in-law and father-in-law's contributions, we were able to have our dream wedding at a beautiful venue. Cam also listed all of my other achievements, talked on how I finally had parents that loved me and treated me properly. I can't even be mad at him, even though he thinks that I should because Emma figured out where I was based on his bragging about having mended his relationship with me and me staying with him. But based on that, he thinks that that's how she figured out where to start looking. Plus, our shared and individual friends and my in-laws are far more active online than I am, and not all of them have their accounts private. Cam follows them and they follow him, so he feels like he is to blame. She doesn't know where I live, hopefully, but she was at a cafe that I normally go to with my mother-in-law. She and father-in-law are adamant about group and solo bonding with their children, and I'm always included in this tradition. I was with my mother-in-law and, well, Cam wasn't exaggerating about me having parents that now love me. When I first met Derek, I had a hard time opening up to him, and we both agreed to start as friends and see where things went when I was comfortable with the idea of any kind of intimate relationship. His parents were so kind to me, and when we started dating, I had difficulty with them. It was my father-in-law who sat me down one night after dinner and told me that their son loves me, and they can see why. So I should love myself and allow myself to be loved too. By that point, I had spent 3 months observing how they treated Derek and his older brothers, how close Derek was with his parents and brothers, and how healthy their relationships were. I blubbered and can admit that I fixated on him ruining my makeup. It was my obsessing with my appearance instead of dealing with internal crap phase, and father-in-law just hugged me and said that I was adorable, but shouldn't ignored my feelings like that because it would just fester. He's amazing and I love him so much. Random tangent, but that memory came to mind. Anyways, mother-in-law and I came to the cafe together, and I'm gonna be honest, I didn't really recognize my mother until I heard her speak. Her voice is the same voice that used to insult me and yell at me. No different after so many years. She had gained weight and was still as attractive as ever, but I don't know. I didn't immediately realize that it was her. I realized who she was when she called me my name, and I just turned around and left. I didn't realize my mother-in-law wasn't following me until I was back in my car and about to start it. I got back out and went to go get her. I felt horrible for just leaving her behind like that. Mother-in-law seemed calm when I got back, but Emma was not. She was mid-sentence, and what I heard was, "Your daughter? Who do you think you are?" She shoved my mother-in-law, and my mother-in-law said, "The one that loves her the way that a mum should. Who do you think you are?" And then mother-in-law wasn't so calm because Emma said, "That lying W's real mother." That was all it took for her to jump on Emma. She got in multiple punches before I got her off, and cops showed up not too long after. I guess the cafe workers or customers called before things escalated. Either way, she was arrested and mother-in-law was bailed out ASAP. She told me it was worth it the moment we were in the car, and I just started laughing and crying when she ranted about how angry Emma made her, thinking she could call my daughter anything degrading and get away with it. She said she was so happy that I ran away and found them because she couldn't believe anyone could insult me like that when she knows what type of person I am and probably always have been. You just weren't allowed to be that person. I should have hit her harder. Is it awful that I feel so good about this? It's like my child self is getting her wishes, however delayed the granting is, and I'm just so happy that someone loves me enough to be angry for me. Growing up, my parents never defended me from anyone. Most of the time, they would openly agree with any insults directed at me, even when I was right there. As a footnote, I noticed some comments asking for an update on Christy. In a comment, I said that she deleted her post not long after I deleted my comments. The few people whose messages I actually read claimed that they were going to have a wellness check done and told me if something happened, it would be my fault. At the time, I didn't know that Cam and Derek were both getting messages too. Derek's response was to send everyone a comprehensive list of everything I had ever vented to him about. It included some of what I vented about in my first post, but also some other things I've told him about. He ended each list with a question. Why should my wife feel any shame for responding that way to one of her abusers? No one responded to him, and unlike me, he never blocked anyone. Cam's response was to shame them and reveal that Christy has always implied unaliving herself to get her way, just like her mother. He shared old texts between him and our parents, and some between him and Christy as proof. Yes, she has always done that, and so has our mother. But I didn't know that they did that to him too. No one responded to him either. I don't know if there was an actual wellness check. Cam has blocked everyone, including both sets of grandparents, so I guess I have another partner in my no-contact boat. Cam has apologized and offered to cover mother-in-law's bail. Derek told him no, but that he could host a small gathering celebrating mother-in-law's accomplishment instead. I love this man. I assured Cam that I don't blame him at all. Mother-in-law getting arrested made me feel awful, and I blamed myself for leaving her alone with Emma initially. But I don't blame Cam. The fact that he cared so much to be offended on my behalf and brag about me made me feel good too. Him and Derek and mother-in-law defending me just makes me feel pure joy. It's not a happy situation, but I'm just so happy regardless. And that's where I'm going to end today's episode, guys. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, let me know what you thought of it in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!